Welcome to the Elaborate Topics podcast, where we focus on lab-specific strategies for medical laboratory professionals. We're proud to be the healthcare detectives that work behind the scenes to get the results needed to influence medical decisions. Let's grow together and jump right into the lab.
Welcome to Elaborate Topics. I am your host and executive mentor for this session, Tywauna Wilson. In case this is your first time listening to this podcast, welcome. So glad to have you listen to the show, and hopefully you will subscribe and listen to every episode. A little bit about myself. I am a system chemistry director for a regional laboratory in the Dayton, Ohio area. I am the founder and CEO of Trendy Elite Coaching and Consulting Services, and I'm the best-selling visionary author of the best-selling business book, Leadership Tidbits 1 and 2. For today's session, we will be talking about a practical topic that you can take back to your laboratories and apply right away. We will be talking about engaging and productive meetings. This is a topic that is near and dear to me because I spend a lot of time in meetings, and it seems like it's meeting after meeting after meeting. And it's like, if I go to another meeting, then I don't know when I'm going to have time to do the work. When am I going to have time to do the job that you hired me to do? Because I'm in so many meetings. And that might be your story as well. Have you ever been in or experienced any of these dull or uninspiring meetings? Yes, I can say I've been in those. Meetings that doesn't start or end on time. Yes, I can say I've been in those too, where it's like we're supposed to wrap up at 12 and here it is at 12:15 and we're still meeting. Where meetings where the participants wander off topic, somehow or another they have a squirrel moment and they just go down a rabbit hole, and I'm not sure what they are talking about, but it had nothing to do with the meeting. And so there are wasted minutes that we've spent. Or meetings that ends without resolutions of critical issues. So we came to the meeting to solve X, and we left the meeting still trying to figure out how we're going to solve X. Have you had any of those? Can you relate to any of those, or am I by myself on an island on those? I recently saw a meme online that said, let's have a staff meeting and discuss the things that must happen but will never actually end up happening. And so I thought that was pretty funny, because sometimes that is what happens when you have some of these meetings. Some of the best-selling business leaders who have books out, they actually said a few things about meetings and the problems with some of the meetings as well. In his best-selling book, Death by Meeting, Patrick, and I'm escaping his last name, but what he said is meetings indicate that the real problem with meetings is that it boils down to a few issues. The meetings are boring, tedious, and unengaging and dry. Yeah, I've been in some dry meetings, so yeah, I can relate to that. And meetings are ineffective, which, yes, I can relate to that as well. And then Michael Hyatt, in his book, No Fail Meetings, reports that 37% of meetings are either unnecessary or poorly executed. He also asserts that meetings steal time, money, and attention and destroy workplace performance. I would be eager to hear your thoughts on that. So feel free to drop a comment in the comment box of wherever you listen to this podcast. If you're on the directimpactbroadcasting.com website, make sure you drop us a note or comment in regards to some of the meetings that you've been a part of. Some that weren't so good and some that were actually very good. We'd like to hear both of those. If you listen to us on social media, make sure you drop us a line there as well. As leaders, it is our responsibility to make sure that our meetings are effective, to make sure that we're constantly bringing value, and it was worth the time of having those meetings. So as I was researching and figuring out what I was going to talk about for this podcast episode, I came across the different types of meetings and the importance of having the right people at the table. I don't know how many times I've been in meetings where the key stakeholder, the influencers, the champions have not been at the table. And so what happens is when you don't have the right people at the table, then you have to have another meeting because now you didn't have all the information. You didn't have all the viewpoints. You didn't have all the data. And we'll also talk about compounding value of shared thinking. As we know that we are better together than we are alone. And that goes for our meetings as well. So there are 4 different types of meetings for the most part. You have your daily check-in meetings. This could be like your daily huddles or your shift huddles. I know in the laboratories that I've worked in, we've done shift huddles where at the beginning of the shift, you would correspond with the shift that's getting ready to depart, and you want to know, the critical issues. What happened over the past 8 hours? Are there any problem patients or any patients that we need to be on lookout for? Any instrument issues, any staffing concerns, all of those things, any quality control or quality assurance problems. So a quick 5-10 minute huddle with the shift before and the shift that's coming in, talking about those things. So those are daily check-in meetings. Those are really short and really focused. Then you have your weekly tactical meetings, and these are the meetings that's used most often in organizations. This may be your weekly team meeting, your weekly sales meeting, your weekly HR meeting. There are monthly strategy meetings. These may be meetings that may be a little bit longer in length, and they may have meetings for your senior leadership team or your executive leadership team, or these could be specialty meetings. Maybe the quality team meets once a month. Maybe the safety team meets once a month. So you have your monthly strategy meetings. And then you have your quarterly off-site kind of check-in meetings or retreats. So these could be half-day workshops. These could be personal development meetings. If you have a team that's spread out over multiple sites, this may be the meeting where you bring everybody, all of the leaders from those multiple sites together for a check-in. This could be a diversity and inclusion training, a special training that you're doing with all of your leaders for an off-site type of retreat. For this podcast, I'm going to talk more so about the most common one, which is your weekly meetings. The weekly meetings typically are anywhere from 45 minutes, no more than 90 minutes, and they're focused on issues of immediate concern. These meetings typically have 3 critical elements. You may have what they call a lightning round, where the people of that meeting meet and they report out in no more than 1 or 2 minutes their top maybe 2 or 3 priorities that they are working on for the week. But it should be no more than like 2 minutes, very focused. You also have a progress review where your team members report on progress related to key success metrics. So maybe you are measuring your turnaround time. Maybe you're measuring productivity. Maybe you're measuring finance, expenses, customer satisfaction. So that's one element that you would be talking about in the progress review. And then you also have like a lightning round where you are coming up with, as they say, kind of like a real-time agenda where you are focused on providing what everybody is actually working on and how the company or organization is performing against those goals. So if you have a company scorecard, that might be an area in which you are spending time in your lightning round for your progress review. When you think about your meetings at your organization, those weekly meetings, how do they compare to what I've outlined here as critical elements of your meetings? So you wouldn't think that meetings have such an art to them or a science to them, but they actually do in order to maximize the value that you're trying to get from them, to maximize the focus, maximize the productivity. And so when you look at your meetings and look at the structure of them and look at what you are focusing on, this might be an opportunity for improvement, especially if you want your meetings to be a little bit more productive and engaging. As we know, adult learners' attention span is really not that long. So if you have long, drawn out meetings and the goals are not very focused, the goals are not very concise, you're going to lose half of your team because they're going to start daydreaming. They're going to get on their phone. And if they bring their computers to the meeting and it seems like they are taking notes, more than likely they're checking emails and they are already tapped out and tuned out and not even paying attention to what you're talking about. So that's some considerations when you're doing your weekly meetings of making them, shorten the time and make it more focused, make it more where everybody's participating. The second component to that is making sure you have the right people at the table, making sure the appropriate people are at the table to make decisions. You can maximize your time and productivity by strategically choosing the people that come to the meeting, having those right people, having a goal to have people at the table that are going to bring value. You also need to identify and invite your champions, your influencers, and other key stakeholders who are going to be able to make decisions. You want people at the table who add value to other people's thoughts and ideas by listening carefully and thoughtfully. You don't want anybody that's going to be defensive and they're going to come to the meeting or not participate. So you definitely want people who are going to add value. Have people that have strengths that complement the strengths of the team and shore up any weaknesses that you might have. So you definitely want to have people at the table that are strong in areas in which you as the leader might not be strong in. Or if you have a cross-functional team, make sure that you have leaders around your organization, around your laboratory, who bring diversity in their thought and their skill set. You want to make sure that you have people at the table who understand the value that they bring, who's not afraid to contribute, and who will make sure that they have the best thinking and keeping in mind everybody, the benefit of the organization. But you definitely want people to participate. When you're at meetings, you want to have those people that pull up the chair to the table and not those that kind of sit along the perimeter on the outside away from the group, because when they sit outside of the main decision making table, they're already letting you know that they are not that interested. And so you want to make sure that you have people at the table that's going to participate and help you focus on some of those goals. And lastly, you want to make sure that you have shared thinking. Shared thinking is of greater value than that of solo thinking and is stronger than solo thinking. That's collaboration. When you have two or more that's gathered, as the old saying, you may have heard this expression before. Two horses, when harnessed together, can do more than double the work than either one can do alone. It's something about synergy that happens when people are inspired to move together in the same direction, working for the same goal, with the same shared beliefs, with the same shared team beliefs, core values in line with the mission and vision of the organization, of the department. And shared thinking, I can think back when I was the mobile diagnostics director for an outreach program at a healthcare facility in the Cincinnati area. And our mobile outreach program had screening mammography as well as point of care lab. And we touched many parts of the organization. We were up under the branch of radiology, but when we had shared thinking at the table, so we had our team, our nurses from our OB team, we had our marketing and PR team at the table when we would have meetings. We had our team from our breast imaging center. We had our team from laboratory. We had our team from outreach. And when we all came together to think about ways in which we could utilize the van to impact the community and take services to women where they work and where they live and level the playing field. Because our whole goal with that program was to diagnose or help diagnose cancers, breast cancer in women. And what we knew to be true is that if we took the mobile van to communities where women were underserved and eliminate the barrier of having to take off work to go get a mammogram, having to navigate a complex hospital system, what we knew is that if we were able to do that, we would be able to decrease the number of unknown cancers. And so working together as a team across with the OB team, they gave us the ideal of partnering with the health departments in the area. They actually had nurses in all of the health departments. And so they were able to help us form a strategic alliance with those health centers to have our vans there every month. We also partner with our marketing and PR team to do special events. So when they had big tennis matches here or big races here, we would have our van, and so that we were able to provide screenings. And the van was able to not only do mammography screenings, but we were also able to utilize the van to do prostate screenings at special events. We were able to do other kind of screenings, lipid testing. And so it was an opportunity. If we just had the core team just trying to think of some of these ideas, we probably wouldn't have thought about going into those other avenues of partnering with the health departments, of utilizing the van for special events, partnering with our prostate program outreach group. And so that's just an example of how much shared thinking, when everybody has an idea or so, you really come up with some really great ideas, some really great initiatives, some really great programs. So making sure that you have the right people at the table. And all of these people were not in a leadership role, i.e. a manager or supervisor. We had people that were volunteers. We had people who were nurses. We had people who were nurse managers. We had people who were journalists. We had all kind of people at the table that came up with some of these innovative ideas. We had lab people. So it was a great thing. So I would challenge you as you are planning your meetings to make sure that you have the right people, the right skill set, the right ideas of people. And what you'll find is that when people get together at meetings, they actually communicate differently in meetings. So you'll find that some team members, they may come to the meeting and they may ask a lot of what questions and tend to focus on issues and concerns that relate to the who, the how, the why, are task focused, while others are more focused on the process. So this is why you need to make sure that you have a combination of people, because you're going to have it. And I'm sure you've had it at your meetings where you have those people. Well, how are we going to do this? Why does this work? Why do we need to do it? And you're going to have some other people that are going to be your big picture thinkers. They are going to have ideas, but they may not think about the why. Or the how. So you need to have a diverse group at the table. Remember, everyone has a unique communication style. So when we go to meetings, everybody is going to communicate different. The way we interact and exchange information with one another is going to be different. And it's essential to be aware of these unique styles of communication and understand how to strengthen communication and collaboration so that we can have more engaging and productive meetings. So as we wrap up today's podcast, just remember that anybody can plan a meeting, but it takes work. Planning and implementing engaging and productive meetings does take some work, especially if you want to get results and you want to get meetings that are productive. The more work that you and others do on the front end to prepare definitely increases the likelihood of having an engaging and productive meeting where you will see results. And it will not be like that meme that I said earlier, in which you came to the meeting planning for the next meeting. I'm confident if you just take a few of these tidbits shared in today's podcast that you will have engaging and productive meetings. As long as you have an open mind, making sure you have the right people at the table, considering shared thinking, and making sure that you have the right type of meeting, whether it's a huddle, a daily huddle, a weekly meeting, a monthly meeting, a quarterly meeting, or does it really need to be a meeting and should be an email instead? So just think about those things as you are planning your engaging and productive meetings. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Elaborate Topics. I hope that you will subscribe and listen to future episodes. If you have missed any of the episodes that we have had thus far, you can catch them on directimpactbroadcasting.com. You can also catch it on the YouTube channel of Direct Impact Broadcasting. You can go to your favorite podcast platform, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, iHeart Radio. You can catch us on social media, on Facebook, up under Direct Impact Broadcasting, Elaborate Topics. So make sure you share this podcast with another laboratory professional. Please leave us a comment if there are shows or topics that you would be interested in us doing or you would be interested in hearing. We would love, love, love to hear from you. And until next week, have an amazing day, and I will talk with you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Elaborate Topics, where your hosts discussed relevant strategies for laboratory professionals. Please subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and listen to us on directimpactbroadcasting.com. Stay tuned for another episode with information you can use to excel in your laboratory career.